Awesome. Okay, we're recording. So, Selena, could you please state your name, your pronouns, and the award you're receiving?
Yeah, I'm Selena Caldera. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm receiving the Good Luck Scholarship for Labor Studies.
Perfect. Okay. So our very first prompt is to finish this sentence. The labor movement and fighting for working people is important to me because.
Um, Fighting for working people and the labor movement overall is important to me because it's really kind of the big question, right? It's one of the big unanswered injustices. Um, and it's kind of like we're seeing the deterioration of those bonds and of the labor movement are really behind, I think, a lot of the kind of commonplace misery that people are experiencing right now. All these like hot shifts, uh, very low pay, the gig work, the scheduling issues, like all of this boils down to the fact that we have a pretty weak labor movement right now and a lot of working people in need that are being like absolutely taken advantage of. So, I mean, I think it's important for those people themselves. It's also important if we want to live in a society that, is not a gilded age recreation, which I'm against. Um,
Cool, perfect. Are you ready to move on to question two?
yeah, if you're good with it, I'm good with it.
Good. Cool. So for question two, it is what issues in labor and social justice are most important to you and why?
Whew. That's a really hard one. It's really hard to choose between like so many issues that are ongoing, right? I think uh, one of the things that's really on my mind about the labor movement is that there's all of these kind of everyday discriminations that take place. Um, so, on the books, there are all of these, you can't discriminate against someone for being a woman. You can't discriminate against them because of gender identity in this state, at least. You can't discriminate against someone because of their country of origin or their immigration status, in a lot of places. Um, but they can fire someone for coming a minute late to work or, having their uniform improperly creased, or as is the case with some workers that I was helping to organize, theft of a French fry. So like there are all of these, anytime there's at will employment without the protection of just cause in union contracts, you're going to have people being fired for incredibly discriminatory reasons by people who largely benefit from an unearned privilege. So I think that's kind of one of my biggest like issues is how do we stop that? How do we make sure that people aren't claiming some facially acceptable reason and really firing or refusing to hire for discriminatory reasons, right? It doesn't matter if we're protecting people from who are returning from the inside from discrimination in employment if the employer says, I didn't like how the interview went, you know? So, and I think that the way to get that is by having working class powers, by having union power, is by like making the employers afraid to do stuff like that because they know that if they do, there's going to be a giant rat outside their office and they're going to have all their customers walk past a giant angry picket line explaining why this company is using bad practices. So I think that's um, one of the most important. I think it's also one of the things that really harms the working class in terms of precariousness, right? Because your average working person going into work, trying their best, doing absolutely the best they can, has no idea if they're going to be fired next week. Like if you ask them, are you secure in this job? Do you think you'll have it next month? They would have no idea. They would have no way to answer you, right? And like that is absolutely unacceptable.
That was fantastic and very thorough and amazing. Thank you.
Good. I'm always like,
That was great. That was great. I really appreciated that. Cool. And then very last question, almost through the recorded piece, is what do you hope to accomplish with the funding from the Good Luck Scholarship in Labor Studies, and what will the Good Luck Scholarship allow you to do?
Well, first and foremost, it is going to allow me to travel all over the Pacific Northwest and give unionizing trainings to workers. Um, so I actually have some interest from folks, both in Washington and down in Portland, um, who are trying to unionize their workplaces and want a training. And I can do it pretty easily, but I need like gas money to get down there, or if I'm staying for a weekend, like someplace to eat, some places to eat, or ways to get put up. It also like enables me to just take the time to be able to do this, to like really commit my weekends, not to like trying to earn a little part-time cash myself, but to be able to like help workers who are like in these situations, and like work with them. Um, it also will enable me to come down for like assistance with bargaining sessions, doing like bargaining pre-training. Because there's a number of things, a number of easy ways to trip yourself up in these kinds of situations. And bosses count on that, right? They count on the fact that workers are not going to be trained, are not going to be on the same playing field. And that's also absolutely unacceptable. So, the Gunlock Scholarship will enable me to kind of do more of the work of like training people to organize effectively, to really realize their power. Um, it'll also enable me to help provide assistance with filling out forms for wage theft, and various other, OSHA violations, things like that, that are super common in almost all of these workplaces with low wage workers. And it's a Byzantine system, and being able to provide, the experience I gained painfully, to people in a less painful way is really exciting for me.